What's up? It's your boy, Mr. U. We're back on that Thursday thing with Herb in the house and a very familiar face. You've seen him extensively on the Herb and Raj podcast, which you can find 8 p.m. CST every Tuesday night. And of course, he's a host of the Thursday Night Triple Threat every Thursday at 9. And of course, he has his own YouTube channel now, The Run In with Big Mike. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, man? You guys doing all right?
Fantastic, man. I'm tired, but it's all good, man. We here, man. What's going on, brother?
Just ready to go. Ready for some football. Football season. You gotta love it.
Now you preaching now. How about you, Herbo? How you doing, man?
Man, it's a beautiful night, man. I'm ready to go.
It's a beautiful night. I like it. All right. But we got a lot to get into and we want to have as much time as we need to do that. So we'll start talking to some of our friends out here, see who's out here spending time with us today. Cat Pool in the house. Roll Tide. Thank you, man, for joining us. Appreciate you so much. As always. All right. So we got our SWX matchup. This is our strength, weakness, and X factor. Really fun time. Gives us a chance to break some teams down, look at some details we don't normally see when we're watching the television set. And our 4 matchups for today: the Dallas Cowboys. That should be a fun one. The Jacksonville Jaguars, the Baltimore Ravens, and the hottest fire, New Orleans Saints. So we got the Cowboys, the Jaguars, the Saints, and the Ravens for our SWX challenge this week. Let's go ahead and jump into it. We got a lot of NFL predictions and a little college to talk about. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. All right, so Dallas Cowboys, biggest trip. Who wants to kick us off tonight? Who got it?
Go ahead, Herb.
Big Mike. No, that's fine. I'll go. There's a number of things you could have put for their strengths. So I put their star power. You know, you go with Dak and with CD and Micah Parsons. I mean, 3 of the best. You could argue top 5 at their positions in each one of those spots. So Jerry Jones has always been great at getting talent. Dallas is talent laden right now. Very strong team, especially in the regular season. So I went with their star power, but I could have picked I could have phrased it a lot of different ways.
Okay. What do you think, Big Mike?
Yeah, and I had a couple on here as well. I mean, I went first with their defense. I mean, obviously they've got one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, you could boil that down, even further, level by level. But I mean, just overall, the strength is just really their overall their defense for me. I also wrote down their O-line as kind of an honorable mention. They've naturally usually got one of the better O-lines in football. They've got a couple of question marks this year with some changes and stuff that have been made, but overall, I mean, to me, their biggest strength is just overall their defense and how good they are.
I'm totally with that. I didn't do the entire defense this time around, just mainly the pass rush. Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence seem to be the strengths there. Then you got some good stuff on the defensive side. Deron Bland, who was a star last year, the number 2 cornerback, is out until later this year. So, and even without him there, they held Cleveland, which was, defensively, they were elite. Coming into this year, offensively, they were kind of a question mark, but they held Cleveland to 3.3 yards per play last weekend. 13% clip on third down, too. So the defense was dominant. Mike Zimmer might be a game changer in that role, man. I know he's happy that Dan Quinn got a full-time job somewhere else because he's like, I don't know if we should be really concerned, or I should say scared of the Cowboys coming in now because they look really good. I can't lie. I'm saying as a Giants fan, they look good. And Mike Zimmer's making them look a lot better than what I thought they'd be in the season. So definitely the pass rush for me being their biggest strength. What do you got heard for the biggest weakness?
The playoffs. I mean, I can't even just put it on. I can't even just put it on because the defense didn't show up last year in the playoffs. It's one thing when we were just saying Dak was the problem. But last year, the defense didn't show up in the first half either. So you can't even really put it on way. It's just overall, this team does not perform in the playoffs like they do in the regular season. They're a regular season juggernaut. And in the playoffs, it's just terrible. There's no other way to put it.
I can't argue with you, man. I really can't. As much as I would love to say something bad about the Cowboys, like it's just that's the icing on the cake right there. Big Mike, what do you have?
So I put the running backs. I talked about their O-line being really good. I mean, you got Zeke coming back. You get rid of and I had his name up until I was about to say it. The guy, Pollard from last year, who's their starter last year, he's going. And I don't know if you have a really big number one guy. Maybe Zeke can come back and be what he was. I don't think so. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have him as the weakness. But there's a lot of question marks there. So I mean, that's just that in general, that position, because everything else they've got weapons, which obviously we'll talk about here in a second when we talk about their X factor. But yeah, to me, that's just the weakest part of the team. We talked about how strong their defense was, so I couldn't really go anywhere there, in my opinion. So that's really the only place that I would think to go.
Okay, that's fair. For me, the biggest weakness is a part of the defense. That's why I didn't name the entire defense for their strength, but their run defense. I think they had the seventh worst run defense grade last season. People were running on them, especially the elite teams that are supposed to be able to do that, like the Niners and the Eagles. They couldn't stop them. They did well against subpar teams last season, but overall their defense was not strong against the run. So if they can solve that, if Zimmer can solve that part, this can be a scary team. But until that happens, that's going to be their weakness for me. What do you have for the X factor?
Real quick, isn't that how the Bills beat them up too? Like they hardly threw that game. I think that was like strictly a running attack against them that last year.
I think that's exactly how that happened. If I remember correctly, I got to look it up. But I think that's exactly what happened. This is probably more examples than just Buffalo there because the defense wasn't great. They win a lot of high-scoring games, and that's not supposed to be good if you got an elite defense supposed to be. But what do you got for X Factor, bro?
Jerry Jones. I think one of the truest things that we said on previous shows, and I think you pointed like he always has talent out there, right? But he is the common denominator no matter what else cycles in and out that this team cannot get out of its own way. He's already upsetting the coach, a coach that he handpicked and supposed to be friends, and they're supposedly had some friction in the offseason. He's waiting until the last minute to do these deals. It's just like at some point you got to realize you're the problem. And for me, Dallas is always a talented team that can't win. You can't just keep blaming the players. You can't keep making scapegoats. At some point, it has to come back to you as the owner. So I'm going with Jerry Jones.
All right. So I'm assuming he hasn't done anything good to change your mind so far this season.
I feel like he signed Dak at the last minute just so he can make a splash on like the first official day of everybody playing. It almost just seems like a Jerry Jones thing, So
that's scary, man.
Yeah, I mean, but it just seems like a Jerry
Jones. You don't want to sign to make a splash. That's a horrible reason to sign somebody.
I agree. But why not? I mean, if they were going to sign to that contract, they could have done that a long time ago. You know what I mean? There was no point to wait till the last minute and to give them that. Usually wait till the last minute if you're trying to get some concessions or anything. They have done this twice with Dak and then just giving that man everything he wanted every time. So, stop playing. Just get this stuff done. Yeah,
and you end up losing money waiting this long because other people get deals who obviously he's going to get paid more than. So waiting this long, I mean, why? Exactly. Exactly like you're saying, you're losing money by waiting instead of getting it done, before last season ended, where you maybe would have got him under 2. Now you're having to pay him $250 every year or $250 total. I mean, it's
in the other sports that it's like the players want to wait, but the teams will go ahead and get stuff done. In football, you really want to get stuff done before the next guy. It's always worse. Whatever deal you can sign now will be worse a month from now. And that's not even arguable. You know what I mean? It's that is a football fact. So
I wonder who's next because 60. I told you on previous shows, 60 is a lot. I think he's a top 5 quarterback. He's shown that in the regular season, no dispute there. In the postseason, different story.
Yeah.
In the middle of the season, 60.
Well, look at the last group that we have. How many playoff wins do we have in that entire? It's 2, right? In the whole 50 to 60, right? It's not a lot in that range. So you're not even paying for much anymore. Your dollar's not going as far as it used to. I guess it's like the economy though. So
you're paying to get to the playoffs, not to get through the playoffs at this point.
Ooh, all right. Shane said the biggest X factor is always Jerry. And you know what? That's sad though, Shane. That's sad that we're saying that because he doesn't play.
Right.
He's not on the field. He doesn't catch passes. He certainly doesn't block. So why is he the X factor on this team every year? What did that tell you? Anybody's a Cowboys fan, just put aside the fact I'm a Giants fan. It's no hate. It's not NFC East related whatsoever. We're just talking about straight football pigskin. That's all we're talking about. Since 1996, Jerry's been the X factor of this team, probably. What's the correlation? What's the common denominator between him being the X factor and their success? They changed everything else. They changed coaches like we change our socks.
Yep.
What's different? They change running backs. They change quarterbacks fairly often. They change everything. They change the linebacker core. They change their DB. They change like all the other teams change. The only thing that stays the same is him, and they don't win. Can anybody dispute that? I'll wait.
No.
Our dog.
You can't even say it's a Giants hate thing because I'm the one that brought it up. So they look. I don't have a relation with it at all.
People try to throw it in like I'm not even thinking about them. I'm actually giving them props so far in this show. They got a really good team. I would have to say that, but it's true. But Jerry is the X factor. You guys are totally spot on about that, without question. All right, Mike, what do you have for your X factors? We can keep on moving on this one.
So getting away from Jerry Jones, because obviously that's a huge one for me as well. Player wise, I would say their X factor is Brandon Cooks. Just to have somebody step up and be a solid number two. You got CeeDee Lamb, one of the highest paid wide receivers, if not the highest paid. You're one of them in the NFL now. You've got your quarterback. You've got Ferguson at tight end as long as he's healthy. So you've got weapons everywhere else on the field. You just need that solid number two to step up. You had Cooper a few years ago till you got rid of him. Now you've got Cooks that has tried to step in and do that. Is he going to be that? So, and that's why to me the X factor isn't necessarily the same person that's going to be the biggest star, but the person that could make the most difference. And I think opening up anything for CeeDee Lamb, as good as he is, that makes him the X factor on the field.
I agree.
All righty. Well, I had a couple of guys. One guy is he was a rookie last year, had a preseason ACL tear, never got a chance to play. DeMarvion Overshow. If I pronounce his name wrong, please forgive me. If this kid does what people think he's going to do, I mean, first of all, this is Zimmer's kind of guy. I think he's undersized, but he's the kind of linebacker that Zimmer likes. He had a fantastic game this weekend, 11 tackles, a sack, and 2 quarterback hits. So he was all over the field for the most part. Zimmer leads the NFL in takeaways since he's been under Dan Quinn. So we're talking about somebody who gives Zimmer the kind of play that he likes. And you got Mike already killing it in the pass rush. Wow. So if this guy does this, that we think he's going to do, the defense can be even better than what we thought. Then Bland comes back. This can be they have the whole field covered with playmakers. So that's a good problem to have. But that's my X factor. Did we cover all of the Cowboys? Did I miss anybody?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. All right. Jacksonville Jaguars. Biggest strength. What do you got, Herb?
This was a weird one for me because I just kept looking at their team. I was like, I don't necessarily know what I think that they do well, So I went with their defense. It was a top 10 last year, and then they did hold down Miami in this past game. So I gave credit for that. Kind of cheating watching week one and doing it. But that's kind of what I went with. But I'll just be honest. When I was looking at the team, it just seems like a most middle-of-the-road team that I've ever got. I hope Travis is listening because he probably just rip me apart. But it didn't seem like there was something great that I thought they did. It just seemed like they're not terrible in this, but they're not good in this. So I just went with the defense, especially based off how they held down Miami first week. But I don't know.
I feel you. Big Mike, what do you got?
So I was kind of leaning the same way, and then as I was thinking, I didn't want to do the same thing that I had on for Dallas. So I got a little bit more, kind of inside. So I said the D line specifically as their strength. You've got Josh Haynes, Josh Hines, Allen. You got a lot of big names, good pass rushers there. And especially again watching them against Miami, they had a lot of good pressure where Tua disrupted early, especially early in the game. Second half, it kind of opened up a little bit, but they were able to disrupt him a lot with their pass rush and things like that. And I think that's a big thing on their defensive line there. So I think to me, just looking at it, that's their main strength for me.
All right. Bo was chiming in and said Lawrence is a strength and a weakness.
Yeah.
You didn't have to add even LOL. We were all going to laugh anyway because that's funny. Wow. I agree with you, though, brother. Thanks for chiming in, brother. We appreciate that so much. Yeah. I'm with Herb on this one. I'm with both of you guys, actually. I really found it hard. I got a buddy that he's such a big Jaguars fan. The man wears mask. He wears a mask to the game and calls himself the commissioner. I'm talking about like a Panthers mask, a Jaguars mask. I mean, he's like, and the whole garb, the whole outfit, gold chain. I'm talking like a Black Panther, but like a Jaguar. That's his outfit that he wears to the game. So he's really into this. So I'm hoping he's not hearing this right now. But I honestly do not know what their strength is. I'm only that I can lean on and say, because they got Brian Thomas Jr. They drafted him first round for a reason. They got Gabe Davis in there for a reason. It was not by accident that they got these people. They want to throw the ball down the field, and they want to have deep pass plays. Something I'm not sure they had in tall order last year that I can remember anyway. I saw a lot of Jaguars games. I don't recall seeing that as much as you'd like. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did he do that in Clemson? Was he a deep ball passer in Clemson? Because I feel like
and to keep in mind, we only saw him probably at his best. We saw more playoffs than regular season. But no, he was very good at. But he also had, to his credit, he had a lot of weapons at Clemson. That was kind of at their heyday.
Yeah, I remember that.
Had some prime wide receivers. I don't know that he always has that in Jacksonville, but I mean, it's going to go into my weakness. I don't remember the turnovers as much at Clemson as I did in the NFL. But I'll let you finish yours before I kind of go.
No worries. I think to keep it short, their strength probably has to be their deep passing game. That's what they built. It's kind of what they built the team around. So they got to do it now. I think that Lawrence, I think his grades looks good. I think like 96% or 96 point, however they grade it for deep passing. So I guess they do that, and he's good at it. Guys got to catch passes, but he makes more of those attempts than anybody, I guess. So that's why they give him such a high grade. But to be TBD, to be determined. I don't know. What do you got for the
week? The reason why I didn't follow you on that one was because their wide receiver core seems to keep changing. And like when they signed Kirk, he was kind of like more a slot guy, I guess, when they signed him. So I was like, Lawrence throws a deep pass, but they look like they're still looking for that number one wide receiver. So Thomas can be it, maybe, who knows, but. That's the only reason why I didn't follow on that one, because I thought when I was even reading, that's kind of what other people say too, is deep passing game.
Yeah, that's the best thing I can come up with.
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't alone. I'm glad I wasn't alone on that one.
No, I'll text him later and apologize if he's mad about that. If he's mad, he jump on here. He get pretty angry if he was actually listening. So, but that's the best I got right now. I mean, it's not the running game. It's not ETN. So, but. All right, Gerb, what's your weakness?
Turnovers. I mean, Lawrence seems to be the key of it. He has 60 turnovers. I didn't even think that was possible. Lawrence himself has 60 turnovers. Last year, they were 28th in turnovers, 14 interceptions, 16 fumbles. It's just, and you see, I mean, in the game against the Dolphins, a key turnover is what probably loses you. I mean, obviously, there's other factors, but you score that touchdown there, you're fine. You have a turnover at the goal line that goes the other way, you lose the game. So it's turnovers for me, and I know, like I said, your boy Travis, he had a long article about why a lot of these aren't Trevor Lawrence's fault, but the fact of the matter is they still happen at an alarming rate for this team. So turnovers.
Thank you, sir. What you got, Big Mike?
Yeah, so I mean, just looking through, I mean, I'm doing some research. To me, it looks like it's the O line. You talk about the deep passing being one of their strengths, and it would be if Lawrence has time to throw a deep pass. But I think that kind of plays into one of the reasons it hasn't really clicked for him, and it may turn. I didn't read Travis's article like Herb mentioned, but that may also kind of go into why Trevor Lawrence may be making some turnovers, having to get rid of the ball a little faster than he wants to because the O line hasn't protected. I know they got Mitch Morse from Buffalo at center, so I know they've tried to make some improvements there, but I don't understand if with all the question marks. To me, that just seems to be their biggest weakness.
Man, this is a tough one, man. I mean, their biggest weakness is like I'm not quite sure how to quantify it, but I guess I'll quantify it by the amount of money they spend on people. I'll do it that way. So I'm going to say their pass rush is their weakness. They spent big money on Josh Allen. I think it was like $30 million a year. I think it was 5 years and 150. And beside him, they're kind of waiting on guys to show up, like Trayvon Walker. They're kind of waiting on when they signed Eric Armstead, which I thought was good. He made a couple of plays last Sunday that were pivotal. They didn't win the game, but there were some pivotal plays there. But beside that, they're waiting on certain guys to step up and do some stuff. But it's not happening. And right now, Josh Allen's the only guy that people fear on that D-line. So right now, that's the weakness. And playing against the kind of team they play against, that ain't gonna get the job done. They're gonna get run over. If that's all they can bring to the table is Josh Allen. So we see how the other guys go. The other guys are rookies, man. One seventh round guy, one I don't know what round he was in. Another rookie. They relying on them to bring the heat in the pass rush. That's a tall order, man. To rely on him to do that kind of stuff, man. So we'll see what happens. But I don't like how things look where that's concerned. X factor. What do you have, Herb?
That was one of my points, especially with Lawrence. I always remember, one of the few games I watched of him coming to the side, running, and all of a sudden just drop the ball. And I'm thinking, nobody's hitting you. You weren't about to put a move, and it's like, these are the things. And then you go and look at here's the turnovers, you're last in the league, and you're thinking, I just watched it myself. So that was crazy for me. I actually went X Factor. Yeah, it doesn't make, because like I said, obviously we only saw him at his best and stuff, but the stuff that we're seeing from Trevor Lawrence now, we just didn't see in college, especially not when he played us. That man was all world when he was playing us, Right. Yes, like he threw passes and I was like, oh, that's an interception. All of a sudden he went for a touchdown. And I'm just thinking, okay, we're putting up Christmas decorations at halftime. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of thing. And then you watch him in the league and it's like, if not for an epic collapse by the Chargers, he might have 0 playoff wins right now. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So I went with the division as the X factor, just because last year they were firmly entrenched as like the favorite, falters down the stretch, Houston overtakes them. Colts get back Anthony Richardson. So is that a chance for them to step up? Are they going to be better? Nobody really knows. And then the Titans, defense looked good week 1. Will Levis didn't. So who knows what game you're going to get with them. So they're in danger of like having one of the shortest reigns. It's like, yeah, we're about to run the division, be on top. And then all of a sudden, yeah, there's a world where they could easily be third and missing the playoffs again.
That can happen too. Big Mike, what do you have for the X factor?
So mine is a little weird. So mine is new faces in new places. So you talked about a lot of the people they signed on the defense and some of the rookies they had coming in. I mentioned Mitch Morris on the O-line. We talked about the wide receivers, Gabe Davis and Mike Thomas. All the new players that they've had coming in, if they can make differences in their positions, to me, more specifically, that wide receiver position. Gabe Davis was a deep ball threat in Buffalo for Josh Allen a lot of times. If he could turn into be that, if Thomas can turn into be a good rookie wide receiver, kind of underneath to kind of put the top on the defense a little bit so he can go, Gabe can go deep. All the people on defense you mentioned, trying to improve your O-line. So it's really just all the new people kind of coming in and blending and making the team better. That's the X factor. Can they do it or can they not?
Absolutely. And here's Raj in the house. He's the other half of the Herb and Raj podcast. Good evening, sir. Fins up. All right. All right. So, yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. This one's tough for me. This whole team was tough for me. So I'll try to finish one. It was. My X factor, I'm kind of torn, man. I said Trayvon Walker earlier. He hasn't been looking great, but if he does I thought he was a first round pick. If I'm not mistaken, correct me on that one. I thought he was a first round pick. So a lot was expected, and it just hasn't happened yet. It's been poor, to say the least. But I don't know. I think maybe Brian Thomas. Oh man, can't even call him the X factor. I don't even know if I have one, man. Honestly,
this was a tough team. This is a very tough team, and just like stuff doesn't really stand out to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one that you look on paper and you're like, well, they got good people there. They've got good people there on paper, and then they get it on the field, and it's like that's not the team that I saw on paper.
Right.
They're kind of the definition of you don't play the game on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to belabor the point, man. I don't have an X factor. I can say Brian Thomas. I can say Trayvon Walker, but I don't. Man. Let's move on to the Saints. All right, Herb. What you got for the biggest strip for the Saints, brother?
I mean, this was another one that was kind of like, what am I looking at? I went with the defense specifically. They're I mean, just because. So I picked them to win the division last year, and they totally let me down. So I was already upset at them. Their defense, their scoring defense, is like a top 10 in the league. So I kind of went with that part of it. But other than that, it's just like, I don't know. It just seems like they're slowly going to keep bleeding stars and move into obscurity at a time when it was probably a great chance to take over the division. So, but I went with defense, specifically a scoring defense.
Fair. Big Mike.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I didn't necessarily score defense. I just went with defense in general.
Right.
I did specifically, kind of look at some of the numbers for the defensive backs. So those are that's probably one of the better position groups on the defense that I looked at when I was doing some research. So if I had to go a specific area, I would say defensive back, but just their defense altogether has been really good over the last few years.
Yeah, great minds think alike. I was in the same place. Defense overall, their defense is elite. Forget what you saw in week 1. They played the Panthers. Let's just have some perspective here. But they have an elite defense coming in from
which that was their best defense in week 1 was the Panthers.
Yeah.
I feel you, but they were elite last year. The defense was elite. But as you said, Big Mike, the coverage is very, very highly ranked. Marshawn Lattimore, Adebo, and what's his name? Tyron Matthew. These guys are kind of up there in coverage grades. So that's and they brought in your boy Kool-Aid, Herb. So it's like they ready to rock and roll out here. So we'll go with that. What do you got for the weakness, Herb? I think I know what you're saying.
I felt like there was several things. So I went with coaching, just because the man is always on the hot seat. When Allen was fired last year, his own fans want to get rid of him. And it just seems like when you have an elite defense like that, no matter what you think about Derek Carr, you went out and got your quarterback. You had stars at different positions, and this team just seems like it's underachieving every year. So I'm going to start with the head man. I'm going to give it to the coach.
Fair. Big Mike.
So I put O-line, just to kind of, it is a generalized group. I don't know a whole lot about the Saints. Like I mentioned earlier, and just what little bit of research I was able to do, that was probably one of the bigger groups that I noticed, got graded as one of the lower on the team. So, and just looking at their depth chart, they've already got, a few injuries. There's already one on IR, and they don't have a whole lot of depth at that position anyway. So, that just kind of goes to the fact not having a lot of depth when, throughout the season, as I've seen as a Miami Dolphins fan over the last few years, you get a couple guys hurt on the O-line, that's going to kill you. So that's definitely their lack of depth there at the O-line is probably one of the bigger issues I see.
Yep. Speaking of killing you, Derek Carr almost died like 9 times last year. And that was because of the O-line. And they lost their bigger guy, Ryan Ramczyk, who's somebody who I wanted to have on my team so badly. He's been hurt a good bit, got hurt again, out for the season, if I'm not mistaken. So he's not coming back until next year. So he's rehabbing. And Derek Carr doesn't have a whole lot of protection. What they did last week, like I said, it just could be an anomaly. They're playing the Cowboys this week. So,
things get real.
Derek Carr I hope Derek Carr doesn't get too happy with the pass rush, the Brian Burns less pass rush they faced last week, because this week it's going to be Micah Parsons trying to kill Derek Carr. And it's not going to be a pretty picture. So I'm going to go to O-line as well. Herb, what you got for X Factor?
Well, you kind of alluded to mine right there, and it's Derek Carr. At least last year you did have Winston. No matter what you think about him, at least he was more of a proven backup than what they've got behind him now. Was it Hayner? I'm almost going to mess up his name, Hayner. And I forgot they drafted Spencer Rattler, but he was hurt every other game last year. And if you're playing with an elite defense, you're not asking for a whole lot from your offense, but you do need the guy that you actually went out to go get, to be out there to play. So I went with Carr.
Thank you. Hey, lady. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate having you on. Big Mike, go ahead.
So my X factor kind of piggybacks off what Herb said and what I was talking about for the O-line. The X factor is actually the training staff, trying to keep people healthy, trying to get people back from injuries a lot. Because, as I mentioned, you've already got a bunch of O-line people that are, questionable or on an injury reserve. Derek Carr being injury prone last year, not being able to keep him upright a lot. You got to have a good recovery team to get those guys back when they get banged up, so they're not injured for 2 or 3 games or weeks or whatever else. So the X factor really is the training staff to to make sure they can stay healthy all year.
Yeah, I'm going with two guys on the line, and I'll keep it real brief because it's kind of self-explanatory. The guys replacing Ryan Ramchick at right tackle. I guess I think it was Trevor Penning, and then the left tackle who was a rookie, Fuaga. They got to both play well, or Derek Carr's in huge trouble. I think that speaks for itself. I think we can move on to the Ravens now, right?
Yeah, I think Kat even said Fuaga's already hurt. Like he was out of practice today. I think what Kat said earlier.
Yeah, that was Cat's.
Oh,
yeah. Fuaga wasn't at practice today, so he's already, kind of goes back to, yeah.
Oh my goodness! Neither one of them can afford to be not playing on this team. Wow, I saw that, but I went over it. Thanks, Cap, for the update. I missed it. I'm sorry. All right, so Baltimore Ravens are next. Biggest strength. What do you got, Herb? I don't know.
So I don't want to take the one that I think everyone else is going to take, but it seems like to be two really big ones. So I'm going to take the one I think maybe, and I'll go with the running game, especially with the addition of King Henry back there, but Lamar being a running quarterback as well. That's already their strength. And I think I just had it up with a number one in the league last year, which, by the way, can I also mention, why did you do that in the playoffs? But that's a whole other point. Anyway, but I went running game.
Fair question.
Yeah.
So my question would be, so the run game was okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you can skip me. I got the same thing, so we can just skip
okay. Well, that's what I was going to say, too. I was like, was that the one that you didn't think we would pick? Because that's what I have as well as the run game.
Defense. I thought you guys would go defense.
No, I went run game, too. So, I mean, I guess you can do, too. Go ahead and do the defense since we both also had the run game.
Yeah, defense was the other one. That was one of the first ones. I specifically put forcing turnovers, but defense overall, they're one of the tops in the league last year, too. I mean, they just got a great group back there. So, so I tried to pick the maybe the more fun one. I don't know. But defense and running game is their clear strengths to me.
All right. Well, you can jump out onto weakness, man, because mine's are the same as yours. What do you got for the weakness, man?
I went with their passing game. It just seems to let them down at times. I'm looking at their rankings, and it's like the 11 teams under them are teams like, Carolina, who are bad, Pittsburgh, who has no offense. It's like out of your elite teams, they're just one of the worst as far as passing yards per game. I feel like they're always searching for who they think is going to be their number one, wide receiver. And now all of a sudden it's like, is it Isaiah Likely, your backup tight end, is about to be your guy. So it's just like they haven't committed to it and putting all the pieces together like they have in the run game. It's like they'll go out and get 5 running backs and get Bateman and have him hanging out there for 2 years before they're like, yeah, maybe he's not the guy. Let's go get Odell for a year. Okay, he's not the guy. So it's like I can't even put it all on Lamar. I just don't know that the talent has always been there for them to really commit to him as a passer.
That's fair. Go ahead, Big Mike.
Yeah, coming kind of in the same vein. I put more specifically the wide receivers. To kind of piggyback what off Herb said. Who you got Zay Flowers, but other than that, who may be your number one? I mean, obviously he's their number one, but would he be a number one on a lot of other teams? I don't know.
Right.
And then you get past him, and who do you have? You've got Andrews there at tight end. You've got Likely now who had a breakout game, but is that sustainable? Can Andrews stay healthy this year? He was hurt towards the end of the season last year. So really, and that obviously that goes more into the passing game than just the wide receivers, but just that area of the field seems to be the biggest weakness and the biggest trouble for him.
Yeah, I got the same thing, right? So let's break minds think alike again. If you look at the depth chart of the wide receiver specifically, you notice something. It's really thin.
Yeah.
A couple of the guys, one guy in particular, probably more than one, they're more of a return specialist than they are actual receiving threats. Right. So that tells you that they didn't stack up or load up where they could have. I mean, they had a great season last year. I'm gonna give them credit where it's due. What happened at the end was an abomination, but they got talent, so they could have a lot more of that there. Why is it so that their wide receiver core is so thin? You know it's what you need. You can't have guys that can't receive out there with a guy like Lamar Jackson throwing the ball. So this is a huge weakness to me. I'm like, how are you ignoring this? This is bad business. This might come back to bite him. You name Zay Flowers, but who else can you name? Rashad Bateman hasn't woken up from his slumber yet. He's still asleep.
Yep.
So
yep.
What we talking about?
And they've been waiting on Bateman for years. You know what I mean? Like they thought he was the number one.
It's been 3 years, isn't it?
Yeah. and they keep thinking, okay, is he the guy? Is he the guy? He's just not the guy. You know?
No, he should let Odell. This bad, but okay. X Factor hurt.
I mean, I hate to give him the Dak thing, but the playoffs. You know, Lamar's now 2-4 in the playoffs. You know,
Oh,
man,
brother,
won,
the X
what,
Factor
2
the
MVPs.
playoffs.
I'm just. You got to
That's not even a
perform,
person.
man. You got to perform. You can't win MVP and then lose these games at home in the manner that you're losing them in. You know, so sorry, Lamar. I love you, man. I would love to see you break through. Probably does. I mean, it was at Kansas City, but it probably doesn't look good to lose to them again in Game 1. But this is something you guys got to get fixed, man. You need a deep playoff run. You got to submit Lamar. 2-4 just doesn't look good for a 2-time MVP.
Yeah, the Fourth Down Forum podcast is in the house. He said Andrews better stay healthy. Him and likely will be the best tight end tandem we had since Pitter and Dixon. Man, I miss them boys. Pitter.
Shout out
Pitter was,
shout out to the Fourth Down Forum. Derek's a good friend of mine. He has a good podcast, the Fourth Down Forum podcast. Check him out on YouTube as well. Good friend of mine. He's a big Ravens fan.
Okay, all right.
So
yeah, Pitter, man, that was a tight end right there, boy. I miss him. So I hope Andrews does stay healthy. That'd be good. All right, go ahead, McGrath.
And so I guess my X factor is kind of the same thing. It's just Lamar. You know, what can Lamar do? You know, we talked about, you know, the run game. He is pivotal in the run game. Obviously, week 1, having over 100 yards rushing himself. And then, you know, to take that next step to be one of the, you know, 2 or 3 elite quarterbacks. You know, you look at what we talk about with Tom Brady. You look about what we talk about with, you know, what Patrick Mahomes right now. They do it with not great wide receivers, which is kind of the same situation that Lamar's in. You've got to be able to make those guys better. And I think Lamar can do that. He just has to step up and be able to. So, and I think, you know, this year could be that year. I hope so. I hope they do really well. But I think him being able to make those mid wide receivers, you know, above that and to kind of take them to that next level is the biggest X factor, whether he can do that or not.
And normally I would jump on this bandwagon, but in this case, after seeing the depth chart and what I said about the wide receivers, I couldn't help but look a little further down the depth chart to look at the O-line just to kind of see what they got going on. It's actually the same, if not worse, than what I just said about the wide receivers. So they're super thin. Besides Tyler, Linderbaum and Ronnie Stanley, they relying on Voorhees to come back from an injury. So they are really thin back there. And of course, the O-line actually protects the same guy that we're talking about. So if you don't have nothing but some warm body, which I know full well from my favorite team, I know what that looks like. It's not going to help you out long term. So this is the X factor. This O-line plays subpar, and Lamar has to do things that we talked about on multiple shows before in the past that we don't want him doing. We know he's a step with his legs, but do we want him doing that? No, I want him to stay in the pocket where it's safe, throw the ball down the field, get rid of it, and that you running like a running back so you can get pounded. And then you get hurt at the end of the year and then you can't, or you miss chunks of games during the pivotal part of the season. So we don't want that for him. So in this case, I'm thinking the O-line is the X factor. If they don't overachieve, it's going to be a long one out there. But that's our SWS for today. So, all right, so quick thoughts about week 1, the predictions. How'd you guys do with your week 1 predictions? I looked over mine. I probably had about 2 games that were like, it didn't go my way. and it really should have based on what happened. But how'd you guys do with your week 1 predictions? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I mean, not great. Kind of the same way. It wasn't great at all.
Which one was
trying
really,
to look
really
up
bad?
and see my actual? Trying to look back and see my actual picks. I mean, if I could look them up real quick.
The Bengals did not help me out at all. I wish I had read about how they start off the year. What are they, 1-10, and you know the first couple games in the last 4 or 5 years, whatever. Like they basically just say forget training camp and forget the preseason and we're in the first game to kind of get to know each other, because that was just
we're about to forget about them in a minute if they keep on playing like this.
That was pitiful. So they're one of the teams that sunk me.
And the fact
I'm kind of the same way. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Herb and I are in an eliminator league, and I got eliminated the first week with the Bengals, thinking that was a surefire win over the Patriots, just because, and that was less strength in the Patriots or less confidence in the Patriots, but
Right.
Obviously that didn't work out well in my favor, and I get eliminated in week 1, so that's awesome.
Those eliminated leagues are it's vicious. I did them a time or two. I wasn't really a big fan. Any shocks about the Pittsburgh and Atlanta game for you? Or the Jets and the 49ers? Any shocks there for you?
So I picked the 49ers to win, but I didn't think the Jets would just it would be that bad, And when they had 5 or 6 field goals, it could even been worse, if they had finished, or if Brandon Ayuk would catch a touchdown pass every once in a while. Which, by the way, you got to love the beauty of a guy, getting his bag over $30 million and dropping 2 touchdown passes. But that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, thanks for that. I've got him in a fantasy league thinking that same thing, thinking he was going to go off because he just signed, and then all that happens. And
I mean, you can't even talk about his targets or anything. That was 2 touchdown passes he dropped that you want somebody making 30 mil to catch. So, but it was just the way they got run all over, the way they weren't competitive. I understand that San Francisco might be the best team in the league, right? But if you're the Jets, one of the reasons why you got Rodgers is to compete with those guys. So you didn't look competitive at all. That game was it was over quickly. So that one did surprise me. What's the other one you just asked about? Oh, Pittsburgh. I mean, they won like they usually win, I guess. Don't score any touchdowns. Defense holds it down, and you just do enough to win. So,
oh, man.
That one surprised me a little bit more, because I thought Kirk Cousins would be a little better than he was. I never thought Kirk Cousins was an elite quarterback, but I thought he was going to be serviceable and actually be able to hit some of their targets in London and Pitts. And, I think he got 1 touchdown for Pitts there in the second half. But, with all the weapons they had, I thought he would be serviceable enough to beat the Steelers, who doesn't really have a lot of offense to them. But so that's the only thing about that one that surprised me a lot.
I think I'm a little shocked about a couple of things with the Cowboys and the Browns. I'm a little shocked by that, because I thought that it was going to be
competitive.
Yeah, great word, her competitive. That'll work. I thought it would be a little better than that. I mean, like we said a little earlier, they got an elite defense. We weren't blowing smoke. They were really actually elite. And I didn't really see that. I saw them give Dak some trouble, get the Cowboys offense some trouble. I saw that off and on throughout the game, but the kind of shutdown defense that we've grown accustomed to in Cleveland didn't show up for some strange reason. It shouldn't have been that big of a margin. The other shock, I think, was the Chicago and Tennessee game.
Ooh.
That shocked me. I think because I didn't have them in the anytime we did a little playoff prediction, I had them come almost on the outside of the door knocking to get in. But I always saw them as being much more competitive. What we saw in the preseason was, you can't read too much into that. But it was really nice looking what they had going on, how he was moving the ball around and whatnot. I didn't see that this weekend. I didn't see that at all. I mean, Cole Kmet, that's his safety plug, and unfortunately, he didn't see a lot of action either. I'm like, so who are you throwing the ball to if you ain't throwing it to him? Roma Dunzo went out with an injury. I think it's like an MCL, one of them week-to-week deals. So who are you throwing the ball to? So I didn't understand what was happening. This is one of them times where I don't know if it was Herb or if it was both. Somebody said that they wanted the coach to get fired. I think this might be your Christmas gift. This guy, he might be Eberflus. He might be out of here for real. Okay, if you can't do something with the kind of talent they had out here on the field, this is on paper, but it's still a very, very talented team. Keenan Allen, I mean, you got some talent out here. If you can't do anything with that, dude, you out of here. What do you guys think about the Chicago game? I saw you make a face hurt. He said, "Woo!" So I knew it was like it hit you hard.
Because I remember just read the stats, and Tennessee was just killing them. And then all of a sudden, you have a comeback, down 17-0 or whatever, without scoring an offensive touchdown. I don't even know if I've ever seen that before. And then I didn't even really look at the stats as much until you just said that. Caleb Williams throws for 93 yards in this game, and you still manage to do that. And you get a couple field goals, a punt block, and then, like Rod said, maybe the worst interception or pick six I have ever seen. And imagine you're the
man.
defense sitting on the sideline. You don't give up a touchdown, and your team loses. You're thinking, you know what I got? If I'm the middle linebacker, I got to go play quarterback. You know, anything that Will Levis did on that play would have been better. If he took a sack, that's fine. If he had fallen, that's fine. Intentional grounding, everything else was better than just flipping it out to, here's a defender, here you go. I mean, unless they're roommates or college roommates or friends or something, I have no idea what the point that was. So that's what shocked me on the Chicago game. The comeback without actually having your offense be productive is crazy.
Oh, wow. Anything else, Big Mike?
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to that game a whole lot. So I mean, just kind of the same thing, just the shock of no offensive touchdowns and all that. I mean, that's looking at some of the highlights, or I guess you could call them highlights, but that's about it.
Jury. Okay. Pretty low lights. All right. So you guys ready to predict for this week? Think we can handle it?
I mean, if anybody wants to know what not to do, my picks are coming up. Here we go.
Oh, boy. All right. So let's go ahead and run through them real quick, and then we get pretty close to closing our show. I got a question after that. We're going to forego the college football because it's too lengthy, and we don't have the time left to do it. So after these week 2 predictions, got a question for you guys. It's somewhat of a tough question, so you can't prepare for this. I'm sorry. So I'll give you time to think about it. It's going to be a tough one. All right. And this is for you guys who are listening and watching our show today. It's going to be a tough question, so get ready. Strap in. All right. So week 2 predictions. Buffalo at Miami. Who we got?
I mean, Miami, obviously.
Yeah. I'm taking Miami at home. Yeah. I feel like if you don't get it done now, when are you getting it done?
Okay, Raj, you better not pick Buffalo, Raj. Okay. I just don't do it. Okay. New Orleans at Dallas.
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 No faith to New Orleans.
Copy that. Tampa Bay at Detroit.
Detroit.
This is
I think it'll be closer than what you think, though, I guess, because Tampa Bay, a little feistier than you think, but I think Detroit has too many weapons. I'm taking Detroit.
All right.
I think Detroit. I think Detroit rolls, to be honest.
Rolls, okay. I can't do that one. I don't have that kind of confidence. But they're going to win them. All right. Indy at Green Bay. Don't forget about Jordan Love. He's out for a little something. So I'm not quite sure how long he's going to be out, but did that change anything for you?
Hey, I went Green Bay just because. The line didn't change enough to make me think that they're like not respecting him. And maybe this is the Malik Willis coming out game. He's going to throw for 300 yards and then never be heard from ever again. But I went Green Bay in this game.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually going. I'm going Indy as well. I don't watching Malik Willis in Tennessee doesn't show me enough to think he's going to be able to step up. Anthony Richards looked good. So yeah, I think it's Indy.
I can't do it. All right. Jets at the Titans. That sounds easy, don't it? But I don't know if it's easy.
I just want to say the Jets because I watched Will Levis in week 1. And then, if this is a time to bounce back, I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think both defenses come to play and both offenses will figure it out. But I got to go with the Jets.
Okay. So I'll use the same answer I used for in the first game. You can see the hashtag under my name. It says Go Fins, so I'm going to pick the Titans.
Nice.
Fair enough. All right. I got the Jets here. I don't feel super comfortable, just to be honest about that. Something inside saying, don't do it. Something inside of me is screaming and said, don't. Yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. Despite the inner voice, I'm going to do it. I'm glad I'm not putting any kind of money on this thing because I feel like it'd go bad for me. I'm not a gambler anyway, but I'm going to go with the Jets here. I hope they'd be angry enough to actually play some good football and destroy the Titans. All right. Niners at the Vikings. This should be pretty easy, right? Three-way sweep here. Niners, right? Okay, we can keep moving. Here's a toughie because of what happened last week. The Seahawks at the Patriots. Now, I know Bo was like, he's going to be listening, so we got to make sure we respond correctly. We definitely want to offend him. So, Seahawks at the Patriots. Oh, man. Come on, I'm listening. Yeah, I think he's listening.
I went Patriots.
Ooh. Holy snap. Okay. All
Just feisty enough
much
at
you-
home to get this one done. Defense will hold them down. It'll be an ugly game. They'll muck it up, but they will win at home.
Ooh, it's tough.
So
Okay.
I think week one was a fluke. I think they got aided by the curse of the Bengals week one. I don't think it's sustainable. So I'm going with the Seahawks week 2.
Wow. It's basically Charbonnet versus Ramondre Stevenson. Wow. This is going to be a tough one. Like you said, Herb, it's going to be a low scoring deal.
That's what I feel like.
I'm gonna give the Seahawks this one a slight edge. We'll see what happens. All right, this one right here, I probably shouldn't even vote on this one. I think I'm going to abstain from this one. Giants at Commanders. Excuse me. What do you guys have?
Commanders.
You ain't hurt my feelings, man. Just go ahead and give it to me, man. I mean, if you got analysis, that's great, but I don't even know the answer to myself. I have no idea.
Yeah,
I mean, nothing I saw from the Giants in week 1 gives me any confidence that that they can hang with the Commanders. I like some of the stuff the Commanders are doing. So
that's what I think about. Bobby Wagner plays for the Commanders.
Yeah, I'm Commanders.
Bobby Wagner. That's the byline. Bobby Wagner plays for the Commanders. Is he healthy? If he's healthy, is he playing this game? Lord have mercy. It's going to be a nightmare. All right. Chargers at Panthers.
Oh,
I think we got
Herb.
3 weeks. Right. Oh, Herb?
No, we didn't. I didn't hear her
We
pick.
can move on. Chargers at Panthers.
No.
Chargers.
No. What happens to the Commanders in the Giants?
Yeah, I already gave my pick. All right, so Chargers at the Panthers. I'm taking the
I'm not in
Chargers.
agreement.
I don't know that I'll ever pick the Panthers to win a game this year.
No, you shouldn't. Don't bother. All right. How about
Same.
you?
Chargers.
Here's your boys, Jacksonville and Cleveland. It's a home game for Jacksonville. Does Cleveland bounce back? Do they have the offense to bounce back after this? This is not an easy one. You guys are already struggling. You guys are sweating. All right.
Does Cleveland even know who's going to play quarterback?
I don't know.
For who?
But
Cleveland.
Going to give.
Yeah,
They're going to give
one
Watson. Yeah, he hasn't been arrested or anything yet, so he should be playing. You like him against Jacksonville?
He's not going to be arrested, I think, either for the latest.
No, I mean, he just didn't play well. I don't think.
No.
Okay, well, I'm going to trust that their defense is still elite. I'm going to go Cleveland. That's the only reason why I'm doing this.
I went Jacksonville because they were at home.
Wow.
Yeah. Cleveland's defense did not play as good on the road as they did at home last year either. So their home road splits are terrible. And then like Deshaun Watson is just looking worse and worse.
With that and the fact that I actually did some research on Jacksonville for the SWX, I'll go with Jacksonville just because I'm more familiar with them than the Browns.
That's the reason why.
No, that's not great. I know it's not great analysis, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
I'll take it. Thank you, sir. All right.
The devil you know versus the devil you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both need to be in hell. All right. So Las Vegas at the Ravens. I think this is a 3-way sweep here. The Ravens are not losing this game, right? Okay. Rams at Cardinals. Might be a little tougher, but I feel like the result's going to be the same. I'm going Rams here.
I went with Cardinals at home. They were feisty enough at home. No Puka for this game, so maybe they can make him. I mean, I know he played good against the Lions, and he was out anyway, so it might not matter. But I went with Cardinals at home. Yeah,
I went Rams.
All
right, part of that is their own problem. The Deshaun Watson trade was stupid when they did it, and giving him all that money was stupid when they did it. So,
yeah, they did. They're in super regret mode right now.
Yes.
Here's no question about it. This is a bad situation. And how far are we in that contract? I'm just out of curiosity. I don't want to sidetrack us. Forgive me for the
remember the first year of the contract they paid him $1. So like the rest of this contract is. I think I've been reading like 80 or 90 million would be like the dead cap hit. You know, even if they just like even worse than Russell Wilson somehow. So they've had several articles out about it lately on like basically they can't get off his contract. You know. Like having him there and having him not there is still astronomically bad. But that first year, remember, because he gets suspended, they gave him, what was it, $1 million or whatever. So his contract actually really started the year after. It was just terrible all around. His contract
Bobby
was so
Bonilla.
bad.
He's pretty close to it. He's not there, but he's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to throw Jimbo Fisher in there somewhere too. I know we're not talking a lot of college, but Jimbo Fisher's got to be up there as well.
Yeah.
Or just for bad contracts.
Is he worse than Deshaun Watson though?
Just for like in the coaching realm, paying somebody $75 million to not coach anymore. Yeah, that's a high figure for a coach. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
obviously, Deshaun Watson will be more, but positional wise, no, that's an excellent point. Coaching wise, Jimbo Fisher $75 million to stop coaching, like I'll take that.
Yeah.
To answer your question, Raj, the best that I can. I think we talked about it on many shows that we were on together. I feel like this year was a really big deal. How many years did you have to be on break? I mean, you go on break for 15 minutes at your job. He's been on a 3-year break.
Yep.
And still can't throw down the field, which was evidenced last weekend. He can't throw down the field. Like 15-yard passes are a struggle for him to do that. Yep. So, yes, this is the beginning of the end. And I don't know what's going to happen with the money, but he may end up either not being there and have to just eat the money, or he'll sit on the bench and not start. But he can't keep doing this. So it's not too early to tell. It absolutely is the beginning of the end. We look at it right now. It's Armageddon right now for him. You guys agree with that?
Yeah. No, I agree. And the fact that they can't do anything, give me some.
Oh, wow. I feel like you wouldn't quit, even though I don't think you'd really do it. I think you'd come back.
I would just be happy that he put $75 million to quit. I mean, anything below 75 and he's yours forever.
Wow. 74 and a half for sticking around.
Legend live.
Yeah. No, but Watson, it just looks worse every time I look up his contract. So it looks like they're stuck with him, at least until 2027?
They can't do it. Not with this. Because your quarterback can't throw, what can you do?
No.
All right.
That's the thing. Like, people say, Dallas does have a great defense, but if you're paying a guy $230 million guaranteed, like, that's what I expect you to beat the good defenses. I'm not paying you to beat all the bad teams, right? So, yeah. He looked awful.
All right. 4 more games left. Let me close out. All right. Pittsburgh at Denver. I'm going with Pittsburgh here. Excuse me.
Pittsburgh.
Another defensive
10-7 game. Maybe 10-3. Pittsburgh.
6-3, maybe.
All right.
Yeah. That's probably
this is the easy one, right?
Yeah.
Bengals at KC.
KC.
Maybe if this was like week 14, it'd be tighter. But
Bengals, they're going to come back and be mad and play out of their minds.
No, they're still trying to get all their team.
They may come back mad. Yeah, they may be mad. I don't think they're going to be mad enough to beat the Chiefs.
All right. Bears going to be at Houston. I like Houston here, but I wonder if the Bears are still going to wake up and make this a competitive matchup. What do you think?
I'm going Houston.
Yeah. Houston.
Same. Last one. Atlanta at Philly.
I'm going Philly, but I feel like if this is the game, Kirk Cousins has to wake up. But man, I wouldn't be shocked to see Michael Penix after halftime if it looks terrible. Philly's been giving up a lot of big plays, a lot of.
What if that happens?
What?
Would that change your pick?
No, because putting him in at halftime, I don't think they win, but I think that might be better for them going forward. They have young talent at all the other positions. Michael Penix fits that team better than Kirk Cousins does anyway.
No question.
For their future, I think Penix is the better pick. And, it's like if Kirk Cousins, if you're not going to come out and win us a division this year, like I don't even see the point of you being there. If you're going to look slow and old in your first couple of games, like it's just what's the point?
No doubt. No doubt. All right. And you picked yours, Big Mike? You picked Philly?
Yeah, I picked Philly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So here's our last question. I set you guys up for as best as I could. All right. So before we close out the show for today, I want to ask you guys a quick question. I thought I already said it to you guys, but hey, maybe not. We'll keep moving anyway. Out of all the teams that look bad in week 1, yeah, I'm talking about bad, epic bad. I don't mean like a Pittsburgh who kicked field goals. I don't mean that. I'm talking about the team that really look bad. which of those teams are the real deal? I'm asking everybody that's here on the panel and everybody that's listening to our show out here on X, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. I said X and Twitter twice. Okay. All right. So which team out of the ones that look really, really bad are, in your opinion, the real deal? And they're going to turn this around.
You want to go first, Mike? Or do you want?
Yeah, I'll go first. And it's one that I've talked about. The curse of the Bengals week 1, I think is one of the reasons they look bad. And they look bad just because they got beat by the Patriots, who nobody really picked to win that game, who nobody really picked to do a whole lot this season, and just come out and lay an egg in that first game. You'd with everything you've got going on. But I think that they have the tools and they have the people to turn it around and be really good. I think they'll still make the playoffs. So I definitely think they're the ones that look the worst that will turn it around and look the best out of those bad teams going forward.
They got hurt.
Well, Bengals was definitely mine. So I will give you the one that I don't believe in, and I'll take the Jets because I just can't believe that their defense will look that bad in the following weeks. And, when you've got like Wilson and Breece Hall, 2 stars at their position, I just can't think that the offense will be that inept going forward either. And you're not going to have to play San Francisco every week. So, but I definitely agree with Mike on the Bengals. Once everybody gets healthy, gets out there and stops being upset about their contracts, I think they'll be fine. But my secondary choice, I'll go with the Jets.
I'm going to say the Carolina. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm going to say the Jets too. Like I said, they can't play San Fran every week, but they got to be better than what we just saw. It looks like almost in the third quarter, they were almost like, I don't say they gave up, but it was almost like it was academic in the third quarter. I'm like, and that can't happen with a team, with a guy who almost has to win and go deep in the playoffs at least because he's at the tail end of his career. And then you got a coach that if he don't get it done, he going to get gone. We talked about him being on the hot seat for like the past 2 seasons. Well, we said he was warm. Last year I said he was hot. So this year he got to do it. So they had a lot riding on this stuff. So they got to be better than that. But hey, man, great job by you guys, man. Big Mike, love having you on, man. I know we're going to see you again real soon. You're doing a lot of work out there, man. Check out he's hosting the show, the Thursday Night Triple Threat. Every Thursday night, 9:00 p.m. EST. All wrestling, baby. No drama, no hate. It's just all wrestling, man. And you heard from Herb and Raj already. Their podcast is every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Football all day, every day. So they rocking and rolling with that, man. You heard some other guys out here in our comment section. They have some great shows. Definitely connect with them in their podcasts and YouTube channels. But thanks again for joining us and for making us a part of your day. We had a good time. Guess what? Buffalo and Dolphins are going to jump off a little bit. So go check it out. And we'll catch up with you guys next week. We out.